Kia ora koutou, and welcome along to this video, which will be part one of a series of videos where I'll be working on a few projects that have been sort of sitting on my mind for a while now. Those projects being a file server, in particular Seafile, a web server which is probably going to be Nginx, and a head unit in a car running Android with a few apps. Much of what I'm about to go through can serve easily as the base for many other projects. Now, the platform for these projects, I intend to use Raspberry Pi computers. What you're looking at here is a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, so I'll be starting with that. Depending on the project, I may move to Raspberry Pi 4. This particular video is going to be somewhat simple. Mainly I'll be setting up the operating system onto an SD card. Near the end of the last 20 seconds I'll be putting up some end screens where you'll be able to choose what video to see next. Depending on which way we want to go, you might want to take that route or that route. So this is a Raspberry Pi 3 version B+. It's 2021 right now, and you can actually buy Raspberry Pi 4s now. So if you're going to go out and buy one of these, I'd go for Raspberry Pi 4. I think the Raspberry Pi 4, I've just done some fact checking on this, and the Raspberry Pi 4 comes in 2, 4 or 8 gig of RAM models, and the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B Plus only comes with a 1 gig of RAM. It's got USB ports here, 4 of them, socket for network cable, audio out, HDMI socket for the monitor if you need a monitor, power in, and at the back here we've got a socket for the SD card, which will eventually have our operating system. Here's the SD card here, so that'll go in the back there. When I bought this, it did not have a heatsink on here. That's something that I purchased separately and put that on there to help keep things a little cooler. I bought all the little bits separately, so the SD card, power adapter, and this box. I've got another box here somewhere. Yeah, bought all this separate. You can buy them in a kit, but generally you don't get a particularly large SD cards. And so because I wanted a 64 gigabyte SD card, I bought everything individually. This is a reader and writer device which I'll be using to write the operating system onto this SD card. You want to try and get at least a class 10, which is some sort of system the industry has come up for specifying the speed. So class 10 or better. So that plugs into the USB port of my computer. Let's just plug that in now. So that's in, and we plug in the SD card here, like so. So we'll go to the Raspberry Pi website and find the image for the operating system. So this is the official Raspberry Pi website. We'll click software. This is an imaging tool. I already have software to burn images on my computer, so I won't need that. We'll click here, see all download options. So this is it here. I'm going to go for the Raspberry Pi OS with desktop. I won't go for this top one here because it's going to load our SD card up with software that I'm not going to use, so rather than waste space I'll just go with this middle one here. So you click download, right, and it is a zip file. Now I think I've already got this downloaded. Let me just double check what I'm saying here. Yeah, so the file, yeah, I've already got that file. It's a zip file. Now the Raspberry Pi 3 and the Raspberry Pi 4 are 64-bit hardware, except the operating systems at this current time, the recommended operating system from the official Raspberry Pi website is actually 32-bit operating system. They do not currently have a stable 64-bit operating system ready to go. So we'll stick with the 32-bit operating system. By all means, if by the time you see this video and you've done your research and there is a 64-bit operating system, then by all means go for that. But I would not go for the 64-bit operating system with the Raspberry Pi 3 B+, certainly not. I've actually done some tests with a 64-bit version and it's not good on the Raspberry Pi 3. The Raspberry Pi 4, yeah, that's probably going to be a lot better, but again, I would be going for as much RAM as you can have on your system. I would not go anything less than 4 gig of RAM if you're going to put it on a Raspberry Pi 4. So you want to save that zip file, and once you've done that, you want to extract that, and we should end up with an image file once that's extracted. Let's just go there and look at that. So for me, as I say, I've already got software on there for unzipping and whatnot. So I typically go right click, extract here, and then I'll end up with this image file here. Once we've got the image file, for me, I would just double click on this and the appropriate software will kick into life. Now I'm running Kubuntu here as my daily driver computer, I call it, and I've been running it for so long that I actually can't recall how I acquired this particular software. Often you update your operating system and you get all these added packages installed on your system. So, but if you need a good package for burning images to your SD card, I do recommend Etcher, this one here. So you might like to install that. I don't know if it's available for Windows or what, but I'm using Linux here. Anyway, let's burn that to the SD card. I'm just going to double click on that. Now I need to choose the SD card. It's a 64 gigabyte drive. Now you want to take care doing this, because the last thing you want to do is screw up your a hard drive that you did not intend to do. So make sure you get the correct drive, otherwise you're going to end up with a load of problems on your hand. And we click that, click restore, and enter the password, and that's it. That looks like it's going to take a couple of minutes, so I'll be back then. Alright, so we've finished writing the operating system to the SD card. Now we can't just, well, we should not just pull that out without first ejecting it from this operating system here, which is these two, that one and that one. So that's ready to be safely removed now, and we can actually plug that straight into our Raspberry Pi computer here and power it up. But what we're going to do at this moment is insert two end screens, and you can choose a video, your Raspberry Pi running in a headless manner or more traditional manner. Traditional being with a mouse, with a keyboard, and with a physical screen. Headless meaning no mouse, no keyboard, and no screen.